When it comes to motorbike security, the best advice you're ever going to get given is to take a layered approach by using multiple locks and various tactics to prevent theft from even happening. And that's great when you're like at home and you've got ground anchors and a couple of chains and multiple disc locks at your disposal, and maybe even CCTV on your garage. But what about the times when you're out and about on the bike and a layered security approach just isn't really going to be practical? Well, I might just have the answer for that, thanks to this one lock that will do a very good job of keeping your bike nice and safe in that very circumstance. Let me introduce you then to the brand. This is LiteLok. They're a British brand manufactured right here in the UK, just in South Wales, and they make a whole line of motorcycle locks, ranging from this particular one, which is the X1. They also do the X1 Plus, which is noticeably longer, which allows you to lock it to more things, making it more secure. They also do the X3, which is even tougher than the X1, and they have a whole range of LiteLok flexible core locks, which are designed to replicate chains in a more secure manner. The biggest thing that actually separates all of LiteLok's locks from the competition, and the part that really matters the most, is something called baronium. Is a material called baronium. Now normally a D-lock is going to be made from hardened steel with a nice rubber coating on it, very much like this one is, to stop it scratching your wheels and your frame when using it on the bike. And they're very solid, but once a thief gets their angle grinder into it, it's game over in a matter of seconds for most D-locks. But when it comes to the X1 and the rest of the LiteLok lineup, well, they take a multi-layered approach to the single lock. They have a high tensile steel core, which is wrapped in this baronium material, this composite armor that I've mentioned, and it's fused directly to the metal. This baronium is a tough old material, and it's designed specifically to ruin angle grinder discs. It basically generates enough friction and heat that it turns the disc's cutting power back in on itself. This combination means the grinder doesn't really stand much of a chance because, well, if you watch any videos of people attacking these with angle grinders, you'll see they eat discs up. Crucially as well, with the X1, if you're using it in the correct manner, then you'll also know that the criminals will have to make 2 clean cuts with one of these locks because of the shackle's anti-rotation structure. So these are not just a one cut twist and go like they are with some of the cheaper competition out there. Now, is it grinder proof? Well, the answer to that is no, nothing is. And if you watch Bennett's Insurance test of the LiteLok X1 and the LiteLok X3, you'll see that they did manage to get through both of them eventually. But it massively increased the time, noise and effort. And the whole thing, the guy got through so many cutting discs on both of these locks, and that's the whole point of these security devices. They delay and they deter criminals from even trying. Now, don't let the fact that this lock isn't 100% angle grinder proof put you off it, because it's still one of the best locks on the market, and there's plenty of good things about it that I want to talk about right now and talk you through exactly why I think this could be the one lock that you use for all of your traveling needs. First of all, there's the build quality. It feels top quality. It's a nice heavy structure, it feels really strong. It feels much better than some of the cheaper D-locks that I've tried. And ultimately, it is massively lighter than any chains or padlock setups that I've carried around in the past. The outer coating is a really nice plant-based rubber. Feels really good in your hands and doesn't feel like it's going to go all sticky and tacky after a while. And it also means it doesn't scratch your wheels or frame when it's in use, which is something that a lot of locks do offer, but this one actually, like I say, does feel nice, soft and grippy. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is size and practical use. Now this, as I've said, is the standard size version of the X1. It does come with its own soft shell case, and that means I can throw it in my backpack safe in the knowledge that it won't scratch or damage anything else that I'm carrying around. And, as I've already said, it is way lighter than carrying around a chain and padlock. It's good for most use cases, and it will lock your wheel up, and if your bike will allow for it, unfortunately mine won't, but you can, on some bikes, run it through the swing arm as well to make sure that bike, not just preventing the wheel from rotating, but you're locking it to itself. They also offer the lock in a longer version, the X1 Plus, and that means you can not just run it through the wheel or through the frame of the bike, but you can also lock it to an immovable object like a railing or something. Then they also do a whole bunch of other locks, different use cases, like I've mentioned before, but for this particular video, I'm going to stick to talking about the X1. The third point, I'm going to kind of hammer the point home here because it is its unique selling point, it's just how angle grinder resistant these locks are. Multiple independent reviews and tests have shown grinder discs genuinely wearing down and basically turning to dust on these things, and it takes multiple attempts to make one single clean cut. Some testers had to swap discs mid-cut, and that's absolutely huge because thieves hate wasting time and wasting discs. And as I've mentioned, if positioned correctly, it's going to take multiple cuts to twist this thing off and get it off the bike. The fourth point I want to mention is warranty and aftercare support. So they come with a 3-year warranty and 2 keys, and LiteLok's customer service has a decent reputation for things when the odd occasion where things do go wrong, which leads me on nicely to the next section, the not so good. So as we know, in the real world, no lock is perfect, and the X1 has a few things that you might want to know about before you go and buy one. Number one is the key and mechanism complaints. Some riders online have reported that lock mechanism does eventually get quite stiff, a bit difficult to use, and in some cases it has meant that the plastic trim of the key has snapped off. It's not common by any stretch of the imagination, but it has been reported, so I feel it's best that I mention it in the video because you'll only end up going on Google yourself and searching the same threads that I've done when researching the lock. My advice is to keep it clean and check it before every use, and if you do feel like the lock is getting a bit stiffer or less smooth than it used to be when it was new, then contact the guys at LiteLok for some advice on how best to maintain it. Fitment isn't also universal. Because this is a chunky D-lock, it won't always fit through your frame, and it doesn't always fit around all wheel and tyre combinations. Some people will struggle to get it around awkward or chunky frames or tyre combinations, such as myself. I can't get it round the full tyre, I have to put it through the rim. So you're best off checking the internal diameter before you buy one, and think about where you're going to be fitting it to the bike. And finally, number 3, it's not exactly cheap. And I don't mean that in a it should be cheaper kind of way. I mean it is you're paying for a premium option, and yes, there are cheaper ones out there, but this offers a much better level of security. Ultimately, you're paying more because you're getting a much better, more premium lock, and it's priced that way. The X1 retails at just under £150 at the time of recording. But if you compare that to things like replacing a £5,000 bike or paying a £1,000 insurance excess, well, suddenly this starts to look like much better value for money. And finally, this is definitely worth repeating. This lock itself is not magic, it's not grinder proof, but this thing is pretty damn close. This is all about slowing thieves down and giving them a reason to move on to an easier target. Right then, so here's how to get the most out of your LiteLok if layering up security might not be totally practical or possible, and why I'd recommend adding this to your arsenal of security tools. Tip number 1 is to go through the frame or the rear wheel and something immovable where possible. You can combine this with a chain, try and reach it through and lock it to a railing as well as the bike. I would recommend using the rear wheel because that's harder to remove than the front, so locking this to the rear wheel is probably the best course of action, especially, as I've said, if you can get something like the X1 Plus and you can loop it through a railing and then onto the bike's wheel. If that's not possible, try slipping this through as much of the bike as possible to fill this gap as much as possible, because as I've mentioned, you've got that anti-rotation kind of structure to it, so the more of this void that you fill, the more cuts they're going to have to make to get it off. Tip 2 is to keep the lock high and tight. So you want to be keeping it off the ground as much as you possibly can, because that makes it harder to cut with things like bolt cutters, and it prevents thieves from using the floor as an anvil to smash it with lump hammers. Although, I do say that, every single review I've seen of this lock where they've attacked it with a hammer or a drill or anything like that, this thing has just suffered nothing more than cosmetic damage. Tactic number 3 is to reduce the amount of space inside the lock, so filling this void with as much as possible. The tighter it is to something on the bike, the harder it is to get tools in to get it cut off. So the X1 shape works really well for that. I like to run mine through the spokes of my wheel underneath the swing arm and try and get it as close to like the chainsaw area as possible to keep it off the ground and reduce the amount of ability that people have got to swing down on it with hammers. This also means that angle grinder attacks need to be done upwards, making it significantly more difficult than if it was like lower down, they could use their body weight to put extra pressure onto the lock. Finally, tip number 4 is to layer your security with other free methods if multiple locks isn't going to be possible. This lock becomes the backbone of your security, and if you have to rely on it purely on its own, try to park the bike somewhere where there's CCTV or good levels of footfall around the public, because thieves hate to be seen when they're going about their business. Park near something immovable, something that you can run the lock through onto the bike to make sure the bike can't just be lifted into the back of a van. And try not to be predictable with your routine. Park in different places around work or around the office or around town, because if you keep parking in the same location, people are going to keep noticing your bike, whereas if you're just sporadic around the place, it's going to make it harder for people to track your bike and take it. So is the X1 worth it? Well, for me, 100%, because I was looking for a portable lock that would genuinely slow down any grinder attacks, and the X1 is one of the best options out there for that. Not because it's unbreakable, as I've said, you can get through it, and there's plenty of videos showing people doing that, but it's because it forces thieves into a longer, louder, more awkward job to get through it. And that's usually enough to make them walk away and look for an easier target. Compared to a standard D-lock, the X1 is in a completely different league. If you'd like to find out more about LiteLok or any of the other security equipment that they put together, then you can find my affiliate link in the description below. And if you're after one, then please do help support the channel by buying through that affiliate link, because it costs you no extra money, but it really does help me keep allowing me to produce this free to view content. Honestly, I wouldn't be recommending it or even talking about it on the channel if I didn't think it was a solid part of a proper security setup. I just want to thank the guys at LiteLok for sending me this one out, and I want to ask you guys to get into the comments and tell me, has your bike ever been tampered with and did the LiteLok save it, or did another lock save it from being taken? Or have you been unfortunate enough and lost a bike? Let me know in the comments, because I want to hear real stories from you guys, because it helps everyone watch out and stay one step ahead of the thieves. And if you've not seen it already, well, go and check out my video here where I talk about layering up your security devices to keep your bike safe. And if you're new here, please consider clicking this little button of my face to subscribe to the channel. And thank you very much for watching. Whatever you're up to for the rest of the day, I hope it's a good one, and hopefully I get to see you in the next one.